5 universal needs for every woman going through the postpartum period or through the first 40 days. I'll talk about it now. The first one, okay, is the idea of confinement. I understand that confinement may sound not so fun, especially after COVID, that we have this idea of already staying at home, right? But whenever you just had a baby, the idea of confinement is a must have. Why? In Ayurveda, for an example, they believe that when a woman gives birth, they're raw, they're vulnerable, they're completely open in so many ways, in the energy level, emotional level, mental level, and body level. There are cuts happening, the hormones are changing, she's recovering from birth. So it's really a huge recovery. And in Ayurveda, they believe that the woman should not leave the house, because if the woman leaves the house during that first 40 days, it's almost as if you're leaving all the doors and windows open of your house so the air comes in. And since Ayurveda is completely connected to the elements, nature, right? Air, water, fire, ether, they really understand that the human body, the woman body, is going through a huge transformation, and what she needs is to cocoon. What she needs is to be taken care and not to be out of the house doing things. And the idea of the air coming into the body is that you have all those holes in your body. You had this baby inside of your belly, right, that occupied a space within your belly. Your organs moved out of space, and then this baby is no longer there, so there's this empty space in your belly. Also, you lost a lot of blood. You had all this blood extra pumping in your system as you were pregnant, and then as you had that baby, you lost that blood. So the idea of confinement around this time, and the idea of keeping yourself into this cocoon, to your space, is that it's one of, hey, you're going through something very important here, very special, very sensitive in nature, so you might as well just be protected at home. And that's the idea of confinement, to really being protected at home. Does that mean that you should not go out and get some sun, maybe on the porch or outside? No, it's not what I mean. But if you do go outside, and if you feel that there is too much noise, and you just feel that it's too big outside right now for you, perhaps being this confined space of your house is going to make you feel safer and better around this time. It's not uncommon that when women go outside after having a baby and they just feel overwhelmed. Okay, it's not uncommon. It's very, very common. And the reason why is because when you're in this stage, there's so much happening. Your ears are sensitive. You are sensitive in many ways. Noise, all that can be overwhelming. So the idea of confinement also does not mean isolation. Super important to note this here. You do not want to be isolated. This is actually a time in which you need plenty of support. So confinement may mean, hey, if that person is not really within my inner circle, maybe I have to say goodbye for the first 40 days. And actually, in a lot of those cultures, they really don't allow visitors to come see the baby for that first 40 days. And why is that? Because hey, the mom is extremely vulnerable here, the baby is extremely vulnerable here. And I'm not just talking about the germs, I'm not just talking about viruses, which those things are a big deal nowadays, right? But we are also talking about her emotional self, her mental self. So just like weird energy, or people that are just, they don't understand what you're going through, perhaps they shouldn't be allowed to see you in that way, to be part of your world in that way. And that's what Ayurveda and traditional Chinese medicine really talk about. And we're talking about two different cultures here, right? We're talking about India and we're talking about China, and it's still like they separately got to the same conclusion. So it's important to note that too, the idea of confining, the idea of, hey, do I really want to see all these people right now? Or do I just want to have around the people that are helping me hold the baby, help me with when I need to shower, help me throughout the night? Who is it that I want to have around me? I was working with a client the other day, and when we talked about not having visitors for the confinement period, it's like, I can't, I'm Jewish, and all my family come to see the baby and it's just the way it goes. I was like, I know exactly what you mean. I'm Brazilian and we're the same exactly way. However, I said no. My family thought I was going bananas. They didn't understand. They like, what? You don't want anybody? I was like, guys, it's just for a few days. You know, give me 40 days. I just want to go through this moment and get to know my baby, bond with my baby, and then you have a lifetime to be with the baby too. And end up being that within 30 days, I already felt brand new because I gave myself 100% to that moment for those 30 days. And then I allowed people in. And then by then I already had my mother-in-law, I had my sister, and then my family slowly start coming. In this case of this client that I'm talking about, she was very, very smart. What she did is, while we were preparing for her postpartum period, she wrote a card to everyone of the everybody in the family. And instead of saying, hey, I just need time off like I did, it was a little bit less sensitive to my family needs and wants. She was very sensitive and she just wrote a card, say, hey, I love you so much. I really want you to be part of this baby's life. However, I decided to take this protocol of just confining during the first 40 days. So don't take it personal. As soon as I'm open and ready, I'm going to let you into my life. And boom, she just did. And I was so proud of her. She was just so incredible. And she told me that she had the best time ever because everybody that was coming into her house was coming to pamper her. So she got a Brazilian drainage at once a week, or the two friends that were around that were there to really help stay with the baby while she showered, things like that. So she really organized, she really used her support system to say, no, I don't want you here right now, or to say, please come and let's schedule how this is going to work. So confinement doesn't mean isolation, just means really not giving your power away around this time, because this is a moment of transformation, of beauty. You are genetically changing, you're transforming into this whole new persona, and you just don't want to have to cater to anyone around this time. So this is really what it comes down to. If the person's coming to see you, that you got to cater to them, that means that probably that's not a good person to come within that 40 days. But if that person is coming to cater to you, then that person is welcome. And it's kind of hard sometimes to just allow the woman to feel, hey, I deserve this, but just know that you deserve it. You just went through a change that is beyond the physical realm, and whatever support you can get, this is the time you should just receive. And just be thankful that you have that ability to receive, and the ability to ask, and the ability to just be being taken care, because this is what you should be doing, being taken care by the people that love you. So confinement is a very, very important one here, right? The second topic that is super important to consider around this time is the idea of warmth. Warmth, warmth, warmth. And I hope my Portuguese works well here. Warmth. Why? Because you want to make sure that everything around you is going to keep the air out that we spoke about, that is going to keep you warm and cozy, that's going to help you basically heal faster. And the warm foods and warm drinks and warm clothes is just going to help you get there. So during this first 40 days, you want to make sure you're wearing socks. You want to make sure that you're wearing clothes that makes you feel cozy and warm. And this is all very important, right? Also, you want to be making sure that you're drinking warm liquid. So teas, there's so many amazing teas that's going to help you with lactation. We have this whole course on nutrition that will give you those ebooks that has wonderful teas. So you can think of the teas. You can think also of broths, drinking a lot of broths, healing broths. If you eat animal meat, then bone marrow, chicken broths. And if you're plant-based, you can go with mushrooms and or tofu and miso. So having those warm foods inside of your body can be really, really helpful around this time. Even water, if you are going to drink water, think of drinking water at room temperature, nothing cold. Forget raw foods, That's also cold in nature. Forget ice cream, smoothies, all this can wait at least for the first 40 days. If you can, wait the first 3 months if you don't feel ready. You might still be wanting to cocoon over the first after the first 40 days, and if that's the case, keep up with the warm foods and drinks. But after the first 40 days, you can start introducing some colds here and there and just see how your body responds. So we talked about confinement, we talked about warmth, okay? The third thing that's super important to consider here is the idea of resting. Rest, 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 mama, rest. So resting is relative, okay? I speak with some woman who says, oh, I'm resting, but they're strolling on their phone all day long, and they don't understand what that does to their nervous system. As we spoke about in the previous video, traditional Chinese medicine, for example, doesn't allow the woman to be on her phone because they know that that gets her first attention away into the transformations that are taking place, and second, it may just throw her off. Imagine that you're on social media, for example, and you're strolling and you saw a mother, because you know how the internet is the IA, it's just this is a very smart machine who, if they know you're postpartum, they're going to match you up with people that are in the same situation. So you might end up looking at a top model or artist or a celebrity or even a friend who just had a baby and they look super skinny. And you may look at them and you don't feel so skinny, and then you start comparing yourself, and this is no good. And you may think that that just happens for a second and you'll be okay, but no, those things stay with us. So resting really means leaving the world outside, saying, hey, goodbye, I see you later, right? And focusing on yourself. Resting can mean putting your legs up. This is one of the best things you can do. If your baby is resting, put your legs up, or listen to a meditation if that's gonna make you feel more centered. Watch a funny movie, that's also resting. And when the baby is awake, be with the baby. Always have that baby close to your chest as much as you can. Have the baby in your arms as much as you can. This first 40 days is also about the baby. That baby is just getting used to a whole new planet. So the closest that the baby is to their mother, the best. This idea of just throwing the baby in this electronic thing that moves, this news, for example, for some women that it works, and I don't want to be completely against it because I actually have heard from others that they love it, but it just sounds so violent. You know, the baby is so delicate. It's just such an important moment of transition. And closer you stay to that baby, closest you stay to the oxytocin. So remember, when you're resting, be close to that baby. Really smell that baby's head as much as you can, because then you allow the oxytocin to move through you, and that feeling of feeling happy, well, and loved, all those things are going to come really natural. And the best advice I can give you here when we're talking about resting is sleep when your baby sleeps. Sleep when your baby sleeps. Sleep when the baby sleeps. And I know you heard this from everyone. Your mother must have told you this, your friends must have told you this, but I'm telling you this too, because it's so hard for a modern woman to think, sleeping throughout the day? I don't want to sleep throughout the day. I have to do this and I have to do that. Yeah, but guess what? This is a long-term commitment, and you're going to be day and night, waking up day and night. Even if you have help throughout the night, you're still going to be waking up through the night, whether you got to pump or whether you got to feed the baby or anything, or whether you're hyper vigilant and paying attention on that baby, you're going to be waking up through the night for the next few months to come. And if that's the case, you got to get the rest someplace else. If it's not going to be at night, it's going to be during the day. My sister's a lawyer, super A-type, super conqueror of the world, her world, and she's going through this right now. I'm telling her, rest when the baby rests. Ariel, but I can't, I'm not used to it. So it's like, start getting used to it. You can create a new habit, and you may feel okay now because this baby is only 2 weeks old, but I'm looking for the long-term well-being here. 4 months down the road, 5 months down the road, 10 months down the road, you want to be well doing your first 6 months. So she's trying. So let's see how that goes. So this is really the idea of resting when the baby rests. So we talked about confinement, we talked about warmth, we talked about resting. And the fourth important universal need when we go through all those cultures and they all do the same thing is the idea of support. We talked already about support during confinement, but I'm just going to talk a little bit more here again. If you have not asked for help ever in your life, and if you're just one of those very independent women that thinks you can do everything by yourself, which you normally are able to in any other time of your life, this is the time in which you want to ask for help. So finding support, not just within your circle, right, but also with professionals. Maybe there is somebody who can give you a massage. Maybe that is somebody who can cook good food for you around this time, or maybe or there are companies that are cooking good food, or maybe you have some support in different ways. So spend the money with support. This whole idea of having so much stuff for the baby, I'm more in pro of a minimalistic approach. The baby doesn't need all those fancy toys. The baby does not need to be spent with all the stuff that we think we need. The commerce wants to make sure you spend money with all the stuff. If any money you have, apply towards service, apply towards service, apply towards service. Make sure you are touched around this time. Make sure you have people that love you around this time. Make sure that you have somebody to help you through the night, a partner. We have another video about that. So support is super important around this time. And the fifth universal need that all those cultures also agree with is the idea of ritual. So in different cultures there are different rituals, and if you're not within those cultures, to perform one of those rituals can be a little woo-woo for you. So I don't necessarily say, hey, if you have a tradition, a ritual that is within your tradition, and even if you have never thought about doing it, but if maybe your grandmother done it, or your mother or your great-grandmother has done it, think of that as being yours, and you have the right to exercise it. So go back into the traditions and go back into the rituals. And if you don't have any, what I normally recommend is, hey, maybe towards the end of the first 40 days, once you feel ready, gather the woman in your life, the friends, and maybe the elder woman as well, and maybe the younger woman in your family, and get them together and tell them about your birth story so you can honor that moment in your life. Tell them about your experience within that first 40 days and the changes. Or maybe you're a person who's a little bit more shy and don't want to go through all this. Write it down. So ritual can be something very simple. It really just means to honor the changes in which you're going through. So remember, the 5 universal needs, those needs are in every culture that I have researched, and they're very important. They're also, if you go into the first 40 days book, they are also in the book, which is super incredible. So remember confinement, remember warmth, remember support, remember rest, and remember rituals. These 5 things can be like, it's the foundation of this whole course. If you can get these done in your life during the first 40 days, you're going to make sure you're in the way of having a wonderful, transformational, beautiful time.